what's so crazy with your dad is all he's telling me about is food.
He died when we had a big family dinner. He died at the table.
Are you kidding me?
On my mother's birthday.
That would be why. So first of all, did your father pass?
Yes.
Your dad is here because the moment that I'm connecting with this man, he was tough here in the physical world when I'm connecting with him. And your father says to me that he lived life by his own rules. He said what he wanted. He did what he wanted. He says, and Matt, he goes, you should have told me when I was alive. He goes, I didn't take shit from anybody.
Yeah.
It's actually funny because your dad was like a wise guy here in this world when I'm connected with him. He actually says to me, he goes, Matt, he goes, I didn't back down to anybody. I wasn't afraid of anybody, he shows me. And he's laughing about showing me like some of the crazy things he did back when he was younger. He's actually showing me, how do you connect with the gambling when I'm connected with him?
He loved to go to Las Vegas.
He shows me he used to like save up like cash. Like I keep seeing like a bunch of cash. And I see him like getting on the plane. He's got like almost like a duffel bag of cash. I see, and your father going like gambling and all. I'm like, what the hell did you actually do?
We were originally from Connecticut, so we always went to Atlantic City, and they used to go. And we have a original slot machine from Vegas in our house.
Shut the hell up! So that's gonna be the reason why. Because your father says to me, he showed me all of his antics with gambling, and your father shows me like he used to bring big money with him. He'd bring like $5 grand and just like spend it. Because when I'm connected with him, he goes, Matt, he goes, I only went to the casino if I had a couple grand. He said to me, he goes, I didn't go with $5, $10. He goes, if I went to gamble, I went to gamble. He shows me. And your father's actually funny because he thinks this is so cool that he can speak to you like this and connect with you, and I can actually hear him. He's actually also telling me, I keep hearing the name. It's going to be either Anthony. I keep hearing it's Anthony or Tony.
I have an uncle, Tony, that passed away.
That soul's there. I'm also hearing Frank. Is there Frank or Frankie?
That was his best friend, Frank, who used to gamble with.
That's crazy. That soul's also there on the other side as well.
Oh my God.
I'm also hearing that name, and he's so excited to let you know that they're all there. They're smoking on the other side, by the way, when I'm connecting. But I think it was cigars.
A long time ago.
I keep smelling cigar smoke. Do you know if his friends used to smoke cigars, or they used to all sit together?
Cigarettes, they used to smoke a long time ago. I don't know about cigars.
I'm pretty sure cigars, so I smell that smell when I'm connected with him. I don't know if they only did it when they were gambling or what it was, but he's showing me, he goes, Matt, he goes, let them know that I'm reunited with everybody. What's so beautiful is that when I'm connecting with your dad, this was really tough because his passing came all of a sudden when I'm speaking to him. And your father says, I know that he was sick here in the physical world. He says, but I was not prepared to die now. I was not prepared to leave this world. I keep feeling like I'm drowning when I'm connecting with your dad.
Yeah, he had congestive heart failure, so he was building up with fluid.
Okay, so know that one of the things that I have to tell you is this. When I'm connecting with his soul, your father just says to me, Nat, he goes, let her know that even though this was happening, he did not want to be in the hospital when I'm connected with him. And what's so funny is he's talking about his last moments. And what's so crazy with your dad is all he's telling me about is food. How do you connect with him with being food and like wanting people to bring him in food?
Because we owned a grocery store his whole life. He owned a grocery store his whole life. And he died when we had a big family dinner. He died at the table.
Are you kidding me?
On my mother's birthday.
That would be why. Because he's telling me all he could remember. I'm asking him how he died, and your father showed me all food out, and he's telling me all he can remember is the food. And you know what's crazy? I've never had a reading like this. Like I'm asking your dad, well, were you sick? Were you this? Were you that? It's like all I can remember is how good the food smelled. All I could remember was how good the food was. And he actually tells me he was eating like he had a plate of food.
We had a big family dinner that day. It was my mother's birthday, and we're Italian family all around, and my brother was sick that day, and he checked himself out of the hospital because he died of leukemia 4 weeks after my dad.
That's crazy.
So he left, and he invited his best friend Frank over for coffee. They came over, and he put his head down at the table. He had congestive heart failure at the table while we were all eating the dessert.
Your father, sorry, I don't mean to say it. I'm repeating what your father's telling me. Your father goes to me, Matt, there wasn't a meal I didn't finish. So it was so crazy that even though he died, he shows me finished his meal here in this world. Your father says to me this, he says, Matt, you need to let her know if there's any way that I wanted to die. He says it was with all of you. So he's sorry for what had happened because you felt so hopeless and you felt so tough. But your father said to me, Matt, I'm going to tell you right now, I was not dying in a hospital. He says, I'm going to tell you that for sure. I was not taking oxygen. I wasn't going in for surgery. I was not dying in a hospital. So even if 10 minutes earlier, you said, I'm going to call the ambulance, I'm going to call the rescue, your father would not have gone. Do you understand that?
Yeah, he said he wanted to go out from the house that he lived in, and he did.
He shows me. So your dad wants you to know that. Because as hard as that was for you to witness, you're going to know that to your loved ones. Your father said to me, Matt, he said, if I was going to die, he goes, I was not the type of person that was just going to go in the bed. He says, it had to be dramatic. And he goes, I didn't want it to be that dramatic. He says, but that was it.
Wow.
And I got to tell you that what was really interesting is this. Your father tells me that he almost died 3 weeks earlier. Did he have a health scare 3 weeks earlier?
He got his last rites 3 times. Before that, he was sick for a while. He had diabetes.
Your father is telling me that God gave him that extra time to spend with you and the family.
Yeah.
He says, Matt, I wasn't going. I fought this tooth and nail. I fought and I fought and I fought. And you know what's interesting is when your dad died, I said, did you know you were going? He goes, Matt, my body just gave out. My body was done. He says, and your father's going like this. He goes, I've never heard a spirit like use an analogy. Your father goes, you know, when you drive a car into the ground, Matt, when you drive it, and then it just stops working, nothing works anymore. That's what I did with my body.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was him. He just kept going.
He said, so please tell my daughter that I got every minute that God gave me here on earth. He says, and as hard as it was to think about your mom's birthday and all of those things, he says, I died, he says, being so happy because I was with all of you. He's here today because he tells me that you think about him every single day. And that's the hardest thing that you've had to overcome with his passing. Know that every day that goes by, he is here and with you, and he is by your side.
Well, thank you so much.
You're so welcome. I'm going to leave you with that.